Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. Say, could that lass be I? Mary of soul, she sailed on a day over the sea to sky.
Hey everyone, Owlvine here. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about what is going on in my world right now, in the world of Owlvine. I mentioned in a previous video, a few of my previous videos, that I'm going through a real time of change and a time of death and of letting go. The last few weeks have been quite difficult, even though I had been made aware that this time was coming through different things happening in my life and different signs and things like that. It's actually been still very difficult. When I was a child, I had a really, really traumatic emotional upbringing. And so for me, change has always been a really scary thing, and I think that's fairly common for most of us. You know, the ego becomes attached to whatever in our lives, and we're afraid to let go because, you know, what if something else doesn't fill that place? And, you know, this has been something that has been a big theme of my life, and something that I'm definitely working through now, and I have done so over the last couple of years. More than ever, I've been okay with change, and this time I knew it was coming and I've been ready for it, and I'm like, bring it on. But it's still painful, you know, letting things go is still difficult and it still hurts. And what I've found too is that I knew this death was coming. I was like, all right, yep, let's go through the death phase. But I've wanted things to fill those spaces straight away. You know, so I'm letting things go and I'm like, where's the new stuff? Like, bring in new stuff. And there's specific things that I've wanted to bring in. So I spoke about how I'm going through this stage where I realize I need to let my dreams die. And the reason for me is because a lot of the way that I've fashioned myself since I was a child all the way up is to fit into other people's boxes. I've never really allowed myself to be who I am. I've always been really terrified of that. And so, you know, look to other people like, what should I be doing? And, you know, how do I fit into this little mold? And for me, the greatest freedom has come since stepping onto this path, since claiming my paganism and deciding to walk the path of the witch. Because I think a major part of that is not just because of these paths in and of themselves, but because for me, they signaled a huge change. They signaled me going against the flow. Nobody in my life I knew held any of these kind of ideas. You know, I grew up in a Christian family, and I married into a Christian family, and most of the people who were my friends were Christians. So for me, it was a really huge and courageous decision to step against all of that and to go against what everyone else was telling me I should be, to step into this way of being. So I experienced tremendous freedom from doing that. I've changed so much in the last few years. Like, it was probably like maybe like 3 years ago, I couldn't even handle being in a photo. Like, I wouldn't do it. I was terrified. I hated the way I looked. I hated everything about myself. Probably not 3 years ago. I was working through that stuff by that stage, but at that stage, I couldn't be in photos. And now I'm putting videos up on YouTube. Like, what the hell? This is ridiculous, you know, like my growth. I mean, this is just one example of that growth. Has been huge in that time because I had the courage to step against all my conditioning. Even though my mind was screaming at me, you know, I did it, and I've not looked back. So stepping onto this path was a very lonely thing to do. It was a very lonely journey, and it was very scary because, like I said, I didn't have anyone around me to kind of tell me it's okay and you're doing the right thing, and kind of boost me up. I have always had my husband, and he's so supportive, and he supported me from the very beginning. He's been fantastic, but he is not on this path, so there wasn't kind of anyone to sort of mold myself off anymore. I was stepping into a whole new paradigm of like aloneness and figuring myself out. And the more I've come into this path, the more I've surrounded myself with people. I have a community now. I have, this space on YouTube, and I have people that I talk to, and I have friends online from around the world, other witches. And so there's been these people now around me again. People that I can fashion myself off. And the kind of neurological pathways that are created, of needing to fit in, are very hard to break. They're very, very ingrained. We're taught from an incredibly young age, that to go against is the incorrect thing. Even if that's not necessarily what our parents are trying to teach us, they'll use things like, what will people think of you? And, what will the neighbors say? And, all that kind of stuff, which makes you kind of realize, oh, I need to be careful of what I'm doing. I need to watch myself because other people will disapprove of me. So listening to people on YouTube an awful lot, I've had stages where I get so confused, like people are saying all these things, and you should do this and you can't do this, and it becomes incredibly confusing, particularly I think at the beginning when you don't really know your own mind, as a spiritual person, as a witch, as a pagan quite yet. You're still learning, you're figuring it out. You're going, what should I know? Because that's been our training. You need to learn first exactly everything that you need to do, and then you can kind of go off a little bit on your own, but don't step too far outside the box, So as all these voices have come in, and people that aren't even necessarily saying those kinds of things, they're just going, hey, this is what I do. There have been people that I've looked at and gone, okay, she's awesome. I love what she's about. I really want to be like her, and I've realized what it has drawn me to those people is their freedom, and is their expression, and is their embodiment of who they are. But I look at the outside things, and I think this is a very easy trap for us to get into. We look at the outside things and go, okay, to get that thing, that feeling, that power I see in her or him, I need to be like them. I need to emulate them in maybe more of the outward things that they do, right? So there's been times where I've gone, okay, this kind of witchcraft is what I need to do, or this kind of spell work is what I should be doing, or whatever. And I've realized that has been me not following my own heart. I think there's a certain amount of information that we do require. The bones, if you will. Like if we're talking about, say, witchcraft specifically right now, you kind of want the bones of what witchcraft is. We live in the information age. There's so much out there. It's an incredible resource. The internet and everything you can find on their books. But I think, I've realized for me, it's the bones that I need from other people. It's the basic structure. It's how does it kind of work a little bit? Tell me that. And now I've reached the stage where, I think when we come into maturity, that's when we really need to break out on our own. That's the whole adolescent nature, right? That rebelling, if you will, that going out on your own and figuring yourself out. That's where I'm at in my own life right now. In my teenage years, I was a bit of a naughty teenager, but my mum really suppressed me as much as she possibly could, and I didn't really get a chance to fully express at all. And obviously, all these things that I spoke about, there's a lot of peer pressure that I put myself under. I think you can only in these ways be suppressed if you choose to. You know, there are people who don't choose to and who are wild and insane and become their own person and, you know, all that. But I wanted to be liked so much. I needed to be liked so much that I never really expressed. And when I did find spaces to express, it was under other people. So I would kind of find, you know, a leader, someone to lead me, and I would kind of express myself under the paradigms that they would let me, and no more. So I'm now in this stage where I'm really starting to explore just who I am. And that's what this death time for me is really about. It's letting go of all that ego stuff. It's letting go of fear, of conditioning, and getting back to my void, getting back to my heart space as much as I possibly can. And, you know, it's a process and it's going to take time, and it's something that, you know, we all go through our entire lives, you know. It's not like, you know, some linear little journey and then, oh, we're done, we're fully self-expressed, great, let's just live our lives now. But now is the time where I'm really digging into that and seeing what my heart is. So instead of following someone else's brand of witchcraft, finding my own. Instead of following someone else's brand of spirituality, finding my own. And I don't think that you necessarily have to completely sort of make your own path. You know, there are people who go into traditions and things like that, and that feels really wonderful for them, and, you know, it's expressing who they are, and it's awesome. For me, I feel like I'm really needing to go down the untrodden path into the forest, into the wild woods, and see what lies there. And what I may find may be something that someone else is already doing. You know, from the outside it may not look that different to other people, but it will be my own heart space, my own heart that is being expressed. So that's the stage that I'm in right now. And it's difficult, it's scary, it's hard to go against the stream, the flow of water. But I'm excited for it too, because I've never really allowed myself to know what it is that I truly want and who I truly am. And like I said, since stepping onto this path, I've found more of myself than I've ever seen. You know, I've become who I am. I've become myself. I'm so much less scared to be who I am now. And I think particularly YouTube helps as well. You know, having a space to kind of outlet and express this too is really helpful. So I'm very grateful for this kind of space to do that as well. I'm definitely in the beginning stages of this kind of letting go and this death. I'm working very closely with Baba Yaga at the moment. I've mentioned that I work with her a little bit, and in some of her stories she has the three horsemen. She has the black horse, the red horse, and the white horse, and they are representative of day, rising, and night. And I'm rereading Vasilisa from Women Who Run with the Wolves. Women Who Run with the Wolves is a fantastic book, by the way. If you haven't read it, please pick it up. It's just, oh my goodness, it's wisdom in a book. It's amazing. I haven't read the whole thing through myself. It's not one of those books that you can, you know, it's kind of like, dare I say, the Bible, where you pick it up and you read it a bit and you just, you know, like get all this stuff and just like, oh, and you need time to process it. So I'm reading that one story right now. And in it, Clarissa, the author, goes through the symbolism of the black, red, and white horse. And I'm definitely, I think I've got a little bit of all of them, as we all do. I've said before, you know, life isn't linear. Nothing's linear. It's not like I'm just going through death in my life right now. As I'm letting go of things, new things are coming in slowly, just not the things that I expected. Not the things that I've egoically really wanted, but letting those go to let the truth come through. But I feel like I'm really very much in that black stage right now, in the death and decay. And the beautiful thing about that stage is that black is the color of rich mud from what life springs from. So I know that that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm churning and I'm creating this space for new life, for my truth to come out, for my authenticity to be expressed. So it's a really exciting time, and I've had some egoic issues with, like, you know, I've kind of held ideas of what I should be doing and what I need to be doing. So, you know, to have things on paper, you know, to be able to say to people, oh, these are all the things that I'm doing, you know, isn't that fantastic? Aren't I such a great person? You know, I'm so successful and I'm doing all these things. So it's been hard for me to let go of the strong pull to create these things because they're not my truth right now, and to actually allow this death space. So when people ask me, hey, what have you been doing? I mean, most of them I can't say much to, because they don't kind of know about all the things going on in my life and what I am. But to let go of that need to give them, you know, the dot point list of my achievements, you know, for the week or whatever, and to actually just allow myself to sit in this space, to deeply get in touch with myself, to sit at my altar, to meditate, to go within, to spend time in that quiet solitude and find my way into my own heart, to find my way past the fear, you know, flicking off the fear and into complete love, and to follow my bliss, to follow what it is that truly is me and I truly want to express. And because of, you know, all this conditioning, it's something that's taking me some time, and it will take me more time. And so to kind of, is it placate? I don't know. To make my ego happy, I've decided to really use this season of autumn and winter to allow complete space for that death. I've gone, okay, head, this is what's going on. All around us, we're seeing nature is dying off. This is what I'm going to be doing. Will you just chill? So that's been helping a little bit since I've kind of done that. I'm like, okay, you know, this time is being marked by the season. And again, it's not as simple as just death, you know, like I've had a few new things come up, new little ventures, and I have made way through clearing some of the fear, through clearing, you know, the things that I've held in my mind that I really need to do because that would make me a really good person, and through clearing that stuff, I've actually seen one or two little blooming passions that are genuinely mine, that I genuinely hold. So I'm holding those very sacred and quietly, gently right now. I've had a tendency in the past to kind of boom everything out, you know, oh, here's a little idea, let's make it this huge thing, and this is what I see happening in the future, and then I miss the kind of going from here all the way up, you know, like I'm sitting here and I'm like, yeah, but it needs to be like that right now. And then I don't get to this middle ground space because, oh, that just feels too much and too hard and whatever. So what I'm doing is really sitting with these tiny little blooms, these tiny little seedlings, and just discovering what they are and where they'll lead me. And I don't know if they're things that, you know, are going to be my grand purpose or anything that I stick with for years and years. I don't know. But the point is the journey. The point is following that path of love. So these are some things that I want to get into because I just do. They don't necessarily make sense. They don't necessarily, you know, amount to a career or anything like that, but they're taking me on my next steps down the journey. So even if they aren't the thing that I end up doing or whatever, they're leading me to the next thing. It's the point of the journey is walking through love. Or rather, the point of life is the journey as well, isn't it? It's not a destination you arrive at. It's something that is constant, you know, one step in front of the other, one step in front of the other. And so now my direction has been fear my entire life. And now I'm stepping off that easy road down into this winding, wild path that hasn't been walked before. Maybe an animal track or two. And seeing where that path of love leads me. And I don't know what the outcome will be. I can't see it, which is something that has always scared me as well. But I'm stepping onto it and seeing where I go. So this has been all very kind of rambly and very personal. I've decided to share it because, I don't know, I think that some other people might be going through things like this as well. I mean, we all do at different stages in our life anyway. So if you are going through this kind of thing, or if you feel that you're being called to, I encourage you to do so. It is a lonely path when you do this, but know that you're not truly alone. There are other people walking paths, maybe beside you, but you just can't see them. You know, they're walking these kind of unnavigated routes as well. And, you know, I'm thinking of you, and I'm holding you in my heart space as well. So, winter's journey. It's going to be fun. I'm actually excited about the whole prospect. I had a really amazing full moon ritual that I did last night, and full moon in Sagittarius. So it's like, it's crazy, man. The energies like in this cycle are intense, and they're awesome, and I am harnessing them and riding them, let me tell you. So I decided to set my intentions last night, and then I pulled a card for myself for this coming month, and yeah, it's going to be intense, and it's going to be really good. And I encourage you to really harness the energies of this Sagittarian moon cycle as well. Look into what it means. Set your intentions for this month, this coming lunar cycle. You know, there are some things going on out there in the cosmos that I think are really going to help us move forward in our lives and to manifest those desires that we really want. And if you don't know what your desires are truly, or if you suspect that maybe the desires you hold aren't truly your own, I really encourage you to go deeply within yourself and discover what your true passions are, where your loves lie, and to every step in love, not fear. Don't step in should or shouldn't. Step completely in your own love space. I'm going to talk about this subject a little bit more, sort of more specifically in kind of witchcraft, but I'll do that in another video because that's going to be another long one, possibly. Anyway, I wish you all much love and many, many blessings, and I hope that this is an amazing lunar cycle for you, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.